yo, I'm in front of 200 people smoking weed. Like, this is some gang shit.
This is another great day and another spot that we're at. Essentially, we're on the latest episode of Over the Weekend. And I've been gone for a little bit of time. I actually went on a little bit of a soul searching journey. And I found great people that are part of my now next line of interviews. And I have one actually with me right now. This gentleman has done so much for the city, from going like hosting the 420 events. He's actually done a lot of comedy experience in the comedy clubs out in the city right now. On top of all this too, he's actually been around actually North America doing a lot of work. And we want to know a little bit more about him and the work that's coming out in the future. So Vandad,
Hey,
how's it
hey,
going,
what's up,
man?
everybody? Thanks for having me.
Oh, good day,
Jamal,
good
what up,
day.
Doug?
Hey. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to actually have a good conversation with you. We already almost went like 5 to 10 minutes already before even pressing record, and I was like,
I know.
I think it's time.
I was like, you might want to hit record, or I'll just do this whole time fucking talking.
All right, but yeah. So firstly, I just wanted to ask, how was your weekend?
My
What have you did?
weekend
What did
was
you do?
pretty uneventful, to be honest. Just kind of chilling. I've been in real I was in Toronto for 3 weeks, and I was in Austin, Texas for about a week before that. So there was just so much like go. And I'm actually gonna be moving in like about a week to another city, to Halifax. I'm in Montreal right now, and so to be honest, man, I've just been in like I didn't have a name for it, but I looked up on the internet. Apparently, there's a name for this. It's called Goblin Mode, where you
Goblin mode.
yeah, where you just like shut off from society and just kind of like stay in, like not just stay in like your house, but like basically stay in bed, stay in your room. I've just been so on the go, and I'm about to be again. Like I said, I'm about to move and pack everything. So weekend, this whole last week I've just been like vegging
Goblin
out
mode.
completely, watching a million podcasts, shit like that.
Collecting some information, making sure
I
you
wish I
have
could
yourself
say
a good
like, yeah, I
laugh.
did a bunch of shit, but it's like, nah, I haven't done nothing. I've been just
Well,
been
I
chilling.
mean, that's still something, especially because you were in the. I guess this is probably the eye of the storm, right? Like after this, there's gonna be so much more to do for another 2 weeks, 3 weeks. See, that's agreeing.
Excuse me, but yeah, no, 100%. And like, let's be real, comedians. And before I ever did comedy, I've been doing comedy for about 12 years now. There's a little bit of overlap, but before, more or less, before that, I did hospitality, bartending, serving, shit like that for about 12, 15 years. So the weekends never really meant anything to me. You know what I
Yeah, no, I
mean?
don't understand. No, I
Because like as a
understand. I used to be a
server,
server,
restaurant
exactly.
person, like weekends you're working. Comedy, like actually less as an open micer and a new comic, but when you get more stuff going on, like weekends too, you want to be working. Generally, like when we are scheduling this, like you're like, oh, you want to do 10:30 in the morning? I was like, I mean, I can, but I prefer 10:30 at night. You know what I mean? Like daytimes and weekends never really meant like business hours and
Yeah,
weekends never
don't
really meant
exist.
anything to me. So weekends are just another day, but specifically, yeah, I'm doing shit. Just been chilling.
Yeah, my job, my
What about you?
actual main job is the exact same way. Like it's just nonstop, nonstop,
Restaurant?
nonstop. And once my job I
Yeah.
do in the springtime, once it
Yeah.
starts to rain, that's the only times I'm like, I have a day off. I can actually sit down and do something.
Nice.
So it's
What are
kind of
these jobs
unpredictable.
you do?
I do a lot of property maintenance. I own a company as with my business partner, and we actually have another podcast that we talked. I'm trying to chop it down actually because we did 2 hours of talking about our trip to Colombia and Cartagena and
Oh,
Guatape. We went all the way around essentially last month, and now we're
for work?
back. Yeah, well, no, this was just actually for fun because we went
Okay.
to go hang out and see his family and enjoy that spot as itself,
Yeah.
and it was almost like a life changing event. I'd say so much things happened, and I'm gonna save it for another day. I promise. Because I spoke about it for 2 hours with him already before this,
Yeah.
but we'll have that for another time. But
Okay.
anyways, let's continue.
Okay.
Essentially, I want to have breaking everything down. I want to have everything that everybody wants to hear. So from the beginning to the end, I want to have the story of how you got to where you are, essentially, how you're in basically Montreal right now, because you just said you went to Austin, Texas. You just said you from Toronto, so you go to all these places and you do comedy all the time in all these places. However, you did start in Chinatown. You did start from there, and now you're at the Corner Comedy Club. This is the places that you frequent the most now. But tell us the story about how you got to these places. How did you begin
Okay,
comedy? Was the
so
first thing, first inkling?
yeah, so in Toronto, I don't know, like 12 something. And when I say, by the way, like I've gotten shit for this before. I did kill Tony
Yeah.
when I was in Austin, and he asked like how, like I fucking bombed so hard on Kill Tony because all my jokes are like longer, they're stories, they're whatever. I don't have a 1 minute setup punchline like classic joke. There's this dumb anal joke that always gets a laugh that I hate doing, and that was my biggest mistake because when you hate doing something, sometimes you just do it as a throwaway, like at the end of in the middle of a set because it'll get a laugh. But when you hate something or you don't find something funny, the audience can smell it. And I didn't like this joke, but it was my closest like 1 minute thing I did, so I did it. Bombed. Anyways, when Kill Tony, Tony Hinchcliffe goes, "How long you been doing comedy?" I go, 12 years. And everyone's like, "Whoa!" And in all the comment section, people are like, 12 years. It's like, yeah, true, fine, whatever. I'll take the burn. But also, when I say 12 years, there's how long since you've started, which is 12 years, like my first set. Does that mean I've been a serious comic like for 12 years? No, of course not. It's probably been like 3, 4, maybe 5 years. But anyways, 12 years ago, I did a spot at this place called Poor Boy in Toronto. It's a bar. They had a bar show. Did it I think twice, and met a bunch of comics. And then there's this bar really close to where I lived called Sonic Espresso Bar. Tiny little place. Great patio, maybe 40-person patio. And there's a little upstairs room that can legally fit 11 people. Okay? And there used to be a guy who played piano there every Tuesday. And I'm just there at the bar. I don't really even know the owners or anything at this point, but I hear the piano guy telling the owner, "Hey, I can't play for the next 3-4 months, and maybe after that, 3-4 months is like the soonest I can do it." And I have no experience. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing, but I just kind of jump in and I'm like, "Hey, can I put a comedy show on here?" And he's like, "Okay." So after doing 2 sets at an open mic, my second week of I'm a stand-up comic, I just got my own show. I got my first show. I didn't know what the fuck I was doing.
Okay.
We did it downstairs the first day, which is tiny. You can fit 5 people. And then we moved upstairs to that 11-person room. And I hosted an 8-hour open mic every single Tuesday for the next 5 years. So
and that's how it builded. That's how it built, essentially.
Yeah. So that was
the
kind of
bedrock story.
Yeah, that was the kind of start. I didn't know what I was doing, but I gave everyone 10 minutes.
10 minutes.
We had about 35 to 44 comics every single week, plus me doing just ungodly amounts of time. I didn't know the rules and the etiquette.
Yeah, because I'm 10 minutes.
But also, I was okay, I'm bartending, first of all, at the time. And even if I wasn't, I don't have the time, money, or patience to go to in Toronto at that time. I don't know. It's a little different now, but it's getting back. There was a point where there was just so many shows where you could do 4 sets a night. You know what I mean? You could easily do 20, 30 sets a week. Now, varying quality and varying value, but you could do them. But I'm I don't have the time or money to fucking bleed bus tokens and beer money and go all over the city every day. So instead, Tuesdays are gonna be a week of open mics for me. So I would just do so much shit,
all
the time. I probably, let's be real, out of those 8 hours is probably about 45 minutes or more of me.
Yeah.
Every single week. And
why 45 minutes? Why such a long time?
Well, in between comics.
That would make sense. Oh,
yeah.
Yeah.
No, not 45 off the top.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes
right?
I would do 10, 20 off the top, and then in between comics, and it was open mic. I didn't know anyone, so I let everyone go on. That was the spirit of the show. It was called the Skin of My Nuts Comedy Show,
Okay.
which is a Soprano quote, by the way. People don't know that. It's the last season or whatever. They're about to go to war, and Paulie Walnuts is like, I just think we should be cautious. I survived the Colombo Wars by the skin of my nuts when they were going at it.
Yeah,
There's everyone says dirtier than it. But I put everyone on. So yeah, you'd have a lot of pros because they'd come and they'd practice for a bigger show. But you'd have a lot of amateurs and you'd have everyone in between. So sometimes someone would bomb, and I got to do a little longer to get the crowd back and whatever. And sometimes I know there's like 5 more comics who've messaged me saying we're on the way from another show.
Yeah, so
but
it
they're
still
not
takes
here
some
yet.
time.
So I would actually have to fucking stall, not even knowing who's next, and then comics would come up the stairs, and I'd be like, all right, ladies and gentlemen, coming up next is like, I just pull someone who just walked up. They didn't even know they're on. They're like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, it's okay, right. Just got
Anyway,
there.
so I did that, and that's kind of where I got the networking and basically knew like everyone in the city over those 5 years. And then, so I was hanging out with my buddy Brian O'Gorman. He's a really funny comic. Shout out to him. He's got a show every Thursday at Yuck Yucks in Toronto.
Yeah.
And I was hanging out with him, and he's like, "Oh, my buddy Joe's gonna come by, Joe Ticito." And I met Joe, and he was actually like, I was kind of hanging out. Maybe I should have left or whatever, but they were all cool. They're like, "Yo, you can stay, whatever." And Joe was really excited, and he showed the blueprints of the original Corner Comedy Club
Oh shit.
to Brian. He wanted his opinion, whatever. They're friends. He was telling him about it. So I was there when like I saw the original blueprints of that place, and it was dope. And I over the summer or whatever, when it was being, I forget if it's summer, but when it was under construction, I would swing by almost every day, smoke a joint, see what's up, hey. And basically, when the corner opened, I did the exact same format of my show at Sonic. I did it at the corner, and I hosted the corner open mic there for about 8 hours every single Monday. So it was Mondays there, Tuesdays at my
Tuesdays at the
spot.
other location. So you're having both of them at the same time.
Yeah, the only difference was that corner is 5-minute sets, so our lists were literally like 55
Yeah,
to like
twice as long.
70, 80 comics every week. It was insane.
People can just like pay one ticket and they just jump in and out whenever they want.
Yeah.
Nice.
And my other show on Tuesdays, the original, that was a free show, and the audience would come and go. Sometimes for like 45 minutes, there's like one person or just comics. Sometimes it's like it said 11 capacity, but we could cram like 20 something people in there. Sometimes it'd be full. Some comics, they'd see like 10 comics go on a row and it's full, and then they'd get up and everyone goes for a smoke.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
whatever.
Everybody disappears all of a sudden like a wave.
Yeah, it was musical chairs of just up and down chaos. But yeah, so I mean, I don't want to. I'll be cautious of how I say it, but basically, at the corner, something went down. It was very confusing at the time. I didn't really understand what was going, but me and Joe were kind of butting heads. And long story short, we had an argument, and I was like, "Listen, man, I can't do this show then anymore. Like, I can't give 8 hours a week to this if that's how it's gonna be. Whatever. I don't need to go into details." So then I was basically like persona non grata, and like kind of just not welcome at the corner. Even though I for the first 9 months of that bar, like I was the Monday night guy. But anyways, it's all good. And then, but I was working at a dispensary.
So now, what year would we be at now? Essentially,
what?
Once you get to the dispensary, what year would we be at now?
Fuck. This is I'm gonna say probably 2016, 2017.
Okay, no problem. So
Like
we've gone
maybe
like about 3 or 4 years.
When did weed become legal? 2017?
28. I think it's 2018 to be honest.
Okay, but they announced it 2017.
Oh yeah, 2017. Yeah, correct.
So yeah, this be like 2016, 2017. I'm working at this dispensary, and apart from paying me really well, they also let me do a weekly show there because it was a lounge.
Yeah.
And they gave
the one
me
down Young and Bloor?
No. That's Vapor Central. I never worked there, but I performed there a bunch. No, this was Village Vapor. It was Cannabis Culture originally, and then it was called
Oh
Village
yes,
Vapor.
I remember this one.
It was in the Village. It's like a pharmacy or something now. But they paid me $400 a week for that show. So, that chapter with the corner closed, but it's not that I
Oh,
didn't
that door
care.
open.
It's just like this big door with a lot of money just opened. So, hey, it is what it is, whatever. So I did that show until it closed. And meanwhile, I had slowly started to produce more and more shows. Like I tried a few, they had varying success. I'd put on some out of town shows, more and more successful, and then that was going on. And then that show died because the place got raided too many times and legalization
Yeah,
just killed
right
it.
before. Yeah, right before.
But before that, yeah. So through the guy at Vapor Central, Young and Bluer, that dude ran the 420 Toronto. So I got to
Okay.
perform it 2 years, just perform it because I would be a regular at Vapor. Those who don't know Vapor Central, it was a Young and Bloor. It was above.
It's above like the also the. It's
There's a
another
store.
weed
It's
shop.
still there.
Yeah,
The
it's
store.
another
I
weed
forget the
shop.
store called.
No, yeah, but
Fuck.
it is a weed
On the tip of my
paraphernalia
tongue.
like
Yeah, there's a
location.
big weed store. The weed
I
store
think
is
it's
still there.
cannabis culture as well, but I
No,
could be
not
wrong.
cannabis culture, but yeah, something like that. I
No,
forget now.
I'm gonna
Honestly,
look. I'm gonna look it up now while you
Vapor
tell the story.
Village Vape. No, Vapor. Wasn't it Vapor Central? No, that was those place upstairs. Fuck. Anyways, they have like paraphernalia. It's a head shop, not weed store like today, like
The
dispensary.
Green Merchant. Green Merchant.
No. Anyway, so that guy had let me be on the show twice, and then that dude was part of the guys who I shouldn't say his name just in case it's like a legal thing, but he was one of the guys who put on that dispensary. So while that was happening, I got to co-host the 420 festival one year, and then I got to host it one year. So both of those at Dundas Square, and then I got to co-host it one year at Nathan Phillips Square, City Hall, and that was all until legalization. Legalization killed that shit, but then we did it one more year at Woodbine Park, and I got to host that, so that was
Yeah,
awesome.
see, so you did the whole basically the last 4 hoorah years.
Yeah. And
Absolutely.
like we had about 25,000 people each time.
So when
That
it
was
came to
hype.
like the collecting the people that could go for those events, so essentially you had to find. This is when you said
No.
a lot of more.
So those were preset events. I just was the MC.
Oh, okay.
I didn't book it or plan it or anything like that. No.
However, you're at least back and looking at the scenes and trying to seeing how to start and run events.
Yeah, you could say that. I definitely got some experience out of it for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
And no, sorry. Running the show at the Vapor Lounge, that was all me.
That was
Like,
a
I
real
booked that
experience.
one. Yeah. That was all me. I planned it. I booked it. Everything. Yeah. And it felt great because I got to pay comedians. Like it was my first taste of being able to pay properly. Like obviously the open mics weren't paid, but at those shows I got to pay. Headliner, I think, got 300. I forgot our budget now. I said 400, but it must have been more because Headliner got 300, 2X got 100, and I somehow made like $300. So I guess it was like more like $600 or $700.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. It was great. Yeah, man. And then
by the way, I think the name of the location is called TorontoHemp.com.
THC, yeah, Toronto.
Yeah,
Hemp.
THC.
Yes. I kept thinking THC, but I'm like, that's obviously
it's too easy.
Yeah. No, it was. Yeah. They lasted a little bit after COVID and a little bit after legalization for like a year or two. They were very smart. They switched it into the last time I went in there, it was now Vapor Central Research Company.
Yeah.
And you signed a waiver being like, this is a experiment happening and you're consenting to your data and participation in this medical marijuana experiment. Man, at its peak, it was crazy because
buddy, I remember the days. Yeah.
They would get you went to those shows?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Mike Rita, whenever he was like, he hosted most of the shows, buddy. That guy was like an angel. Yeah, that's like a comedic angel.
And Brian O'Gorman, who I mentioned, the Yucks guy who does antidepressant Thursdays at Yucks, he did the Wednesday show even before O'Gorman. So holy. there was a show there for like 15 years or something. And they used to do Third Class Thursdays or something as well with Hunter Collins. But man, at its peak, it was crazy because you would see like 200 people smoking
weed all at
watching
once.
a comedy show. Now, I don't know if you ever performed it. They were pretty like hard to perform.
So to be 100%
Everyone was
honest,
so high as fuck.
I actually performed one time a
Nice.
very long time ago. And I
Nice.
mean like who, buddy? Maybe 2016, 2017, something around those times.
Yeah.
I just like everybody else, I was like, I think I can do it. And I go up there and guess what? I fucking bombed.
Well, I'll tell you what, man. Like those were great because you got paid a little bit of money. I don't know, it was like $20. It wasn't a big deal on the money, but comedians getting paid nothing, it felt great. But also, you have 200 people there, so the optics of like taking a photo, being like, "This is where I'm performing tonight," it felt
way
good,
higher.
man. Like it doesn't matter. No one was laughing. Everyone's high as fuck. It's like, yo, I'm in front of 200 people smoking weed. Like this is some gang shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
This
this
is
fucking sick. This
gangster
we,
shit.
we took it for granted in Toronto. At one point, we had like 7 weed shows. There's a whole circuit where it's like we didn't even realize. It's like, yo, even California, places where it's legal, like they ain't doing this.
Yeah, man. Back in
mean?
those days, buddy.
There was Underground. That was in the East End.
Yeah, the Underground was in
My
the
show
East End.
was like 80 people at a time, you know, smoking weed. Now, here's the thing. Those crowds, people who don't smoke weed kind of didn't get it. Like pros would come and bomb and be like, "Fuck this dumb stoner crowd."
Yeah, exactly.
Like, nah, they're not
too
dumb,
high, but
they're actually, the thing is, even I would like, you know, when you don't hear laughs, it's like hard on you as a comedian. But the thing is, A, I smoked weed, so I kind of understood it. But B, I remember like years after Vapor Central closed, like more recently, someone came up to me and was like, "Yo, I remember you from Vapor Central, da 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 da," and he quoted a joke that I had only done one time.
No way.
There, so I know it's not from like anything else. First of all, he actually reminded me of the joke, so I could keep doing it now, which is awesome. But I was like, holy shit, like if this guy can repeat this joke from 10 years ago so clearly, like that means like
that place has something for
that means like
heart.
Even if they were like like passed out, like it's still in their head.
Still there.
It's not like they're not physically ha ha ha, but like they're still getting it. They obviously still remember you 10 years later. That's a loyal fan. So
yeah, man, absolutely. I'm sure after you seeing that, man, you're like, man, thank you.
Well, when that show was happening, my show, I thought I had just figured out life because I was like at the dispensary. I don't even want to say how much money per day, but it was like a lot, per day. Fucking cash. You know, Canada doesn't have a statute of limitations, eh?
Oh, what
you know that thing in the States where like if a crime is long enough and you talk about it, you can get
you can still get
Canada's no limit. So I'll say this never happened. Complete satire, artistic liberty. I'm just joking.
Story.
$500 a day, cash, and the extra when I did the show. So I was like, oh, I figured out life. I have this amazing job, and that's for 4 days a week. I could have worked 7 if I wanted.
Yeah.
And maybe even more, but it's like 4 days a week I work, and I got my comedy show, and I have tons of time off whenever I want. I can just go. I thought I figured out life, you know. But anyway, so that kept doing it, kept hosting shows, and then let me see what year it was. I think it was.
We're going closer to like 18, 19 after the 420 shows.
2018 or so. I got my first taste of road shows that I produced. I mean, I produced one road show like years before that, like 2023. It was actually pretty good. We had to drive 6 hours, middle of nowhere, but we were the only bar in that town. So I mean,
yeah, so you have to do.
That's
where they come.
But you know, I had been on road shows, other people's road shows, obviously, but I started doing a show that was proper booked. I sold the tickets. We sold out. And then I started booking more and more. And there's a few now that I've been doing for like 4 years now. You know, one of them's every other month. One of them's about 4 times a year. And yeah, I just produce more and more. Every time I'm in a city or in a town, I try to put on a one-off, you know?
Yeah, one off.
I had a really, really good week. The last time I did a weekly show, it was in Toronto. It's called What's So Funny, this bar called Pray Tell. But we did it every week. It was kind of similar vibes. Oh, in between, I did a show at Hemingway's once, which was the exact same vibe of the original, the show up, go up, crazy
Yeah.
open mic. But it was at Hemingway's, so it was like a little bit less like anyone can come.
Yeah,
And it was more like I knew enough pros at the time that I could invite pros, semi-pros, a few amateurs here and there. But yeah, so but then I started doing these road shows. I did this weekly that was really, really good. But then COVID came
yeah, 2020.
and COVID
March.
fucking killed it, man. The next show that would have been that never got to happen would have been the Tuesday that was St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah,
That
the
was
14.
a show that
the
never
14th.
happened. Because like a day before that, like March 10th or 12th or something, it was like the world's over. Like everything shut down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the week before that, everyone was doing that chain mail of like, here are the
Oh,
COVID
watch out!
protocols.
Watch out! Like,
No, like every bar was trying to be like, please keep coming. We're gonna wipe our tables. We're gonna do this. We're gonna do
and it
that.
only lasts for a few, like a week.
Yeah, yeah, no, like less than a week. And then it was just like, no, we're closed. Everything's closed. And then I just got bored during COVID. So I moved to Montreal just for cheaper rent, something new, whatever. But those road shows I was doing, I didn't want those to die. So for the last 3 years, I've just been booking them remotely. Like I literally
Absolutely.
book them off my phone. I send comedians out. They do the show. They come back. I send everyone money. And then when I'm in town, I can do them. And when I'm not, that's another
Yeah, you
spot
just show them again.
for me to, just be able to give my friends like good money. At one of them, the headliner gets 200. We got two features who get 80. Gas is paid for. Whoever's driving gets $15 an hour for driving on top.
Yeah. So
We
actually,
have a show every 4 times or so a year. Now in our 4th year. It's called Lovers and Laughs. It was a road show in a few cities out of town. And
that's the one at the rec room, right?
Yeah, so thank you for telling me that. So February 9th is the first one we're ever doing in Toronto after 4 sold out years of road gigs. And I'm nervous because it's 150 seats and we have not sold 150 seats yet. But
Well, that place is like
feels
like a large place. But yeah, absolutely, input that.
It's it's on Eventbrite, Lovers and Laughs Toronto, Eventbrite at the Rec Room. You can go to the recroom.ca and get them there too. But yeah, that show's been going good. Those out of town audiences really, really appreciate comedy. Like they love it.
They want to see it.
I did some shows here during the pandemic in Montreal too. I did a few at Theatre St. Catherine. Sold it out a couple times. It was good. It's just I find city shows are tough because if it's in a city, like, and we'll see with Lovers and Laughs February 9th at the Rec Room, we got Tamara Siobhan, Sabrina Douglas, Chris Robinson, and Amish Patel. The shows in the city, though, like every time I'm in Toronto, I'll do like 1 or 2 shows. Whether they sell out or no one comes or some people come, you don't know anything until like the last 20 minutes before show starts. It's all in the last 20 minutes. So Theatre St. Catherine, even when we sold it out, I was just so stressed for a whole month looking at like the day of, it's like 6 tickets sold. And then all of a sudden it sells out, but then you can't even like pause to enjoy it. It's like, okay, now I got to go do the show.
Because, yeah, exactly.
And then like you sleep, you wake up, and then you're like, I can't chill at all because it's all going to be last minute. So now for the next month, I have to keep pumping. Whereas these out of town shows, man, they usually almost sell out in a month ahead.
Yeah.
Or they usually
that's what they have. That's what they have.
Yeah, there's less going on, and it's one thing if there's less going on and you bring them a shitty show, and then they'll never come again, even if you
but if you give them something they want to see.
when you give them proper headliners, when you give them like really good, like renowned comics, they're gonna come and they're gonna love you for it, and they're gonna be loyal. So
that's why a lot of comedians have like shows in Chilliwack and places like that, for example.
hell yeah. I mean, you gotta be on the road. The road is where it's at. But even if you're not like a road dog who just tours all the time, you gotta put on shows, yeah.
Or at least,
like
how long do you think? Like 2 months, 4 months?
What?
Like, how long do you think you should be on the road to say?
If you can do a whole year of road, do it. That's hard to do. I've never done more than like 3 shows at a time, because it's hard to do. It's stressful.
Yeah.
Like I a lot of those companies that do that are like a team, and it takes like a year to book those dates, and then they, make it happen. Mine are like, okay, like 2 months ahead, we plan it. We got a month to sell tickets. Let's go. So it's a little bit harder on the logistics. Like the show in King Cardin, Lovers and Laughs, like it's far away. It's a 3-hour drive. So then we do 2 shows. So we got a place there. We worked it out so that we can crash, like with the owners. They give us a place to crash. They have a little Airbnb thing. They just let us have that for free. But because we do that and we're there overnight, then we plan, usually we do a daytime show in a town that's 45 minutes away. So we do that one show. We do two shows a night, the one night, sometimes 2 nights. And then the last day we go and we do a daytime show 45 minutes away, and then we go home, just to make it worth the driving and the whatever. And
and then you can do 2 things. Even though obviously in the daytime it's probably a little bit harder to pick up people than it would be like during the evening and things like that. Essentially.
Yeah.
Well, that's where we are basically. And I guess now you like doing that more than just comedy, or you feel that it'll always be hand in hand?
I mean, yeah, like my strength is definitely with putting on shows, hosting. If I'm there physically, I think I'm a really good host. Obviously, I love performing. There's nothing like performing, but you go with your crowd. Oh, by the way, I just did not to leave that story halfway, because you were asking me about the corner. Recently, when I was in Toronto for like 3 weeks, I got hit up by the owner, Joe Cicchito. He asked me if I was down for a meeting. I don't want to put the guy's business out there. I think it's like, if you know him, you kind of already know what's going on. But basically, we all go through struggles. I was going through a lot of struggles. He was going through a lot of struggles. And he's done a lot of healing and amazing healing and gone on this whole journey. And he took the time to set me aside, to have a meeting with me, put some time aside, and we talked, and basically we came to an understanding that we were both at fault back then. We both apologized, bygones, and because this brand new club opened up. I was a big part of starting it, and then in all its success for like 8 years, 9 years, I'm nowhere part of it. I don't get to perform there, whatever. So now we're cool. And that's how, because I was a roster part of the corner when it opened. I was like one of the first people. And now I'm back in the corner. So I'm not living in Toronto, but every time I'm in Toronto, you can catch me at the corner.
To see it on a shot.
Which is fucking awesome. Yeah. These things take time. It takes time to come back to it.
I think one thing I have to ask after this is, realistically, what do you have? Because I know you said you're going to Halifax, so what do you have coming up, like, in your world?
A lot. So I'm going to be doing a lot out there in Halifax. It's actually such a good scene for comedy. my buddy Nick Marnello, shout out to him. So he runs his production company called Top Hat Comedy, and they do a bunch of shows. They have a weekly open mic that I'm going to be the resident closer for. So I'm going to have, I don't know about headline because it's an open mic, but I'm going to be there every single week, and I'm going to be the closer doing like a longer set. It's kind of like the resident.
Yeah, what you want, a longer set.
Well, yeah, obviously, if you can get a longer set. He just told me I can be like the resident closer or whatever we call it there. So, yeah, so for the next few months, I'm going to be almost exclusively there every Tuesday. And then he has bigger shows. He has some shows with like this theater that's 300 something people. So, going to be doing some shows there for sure. I'm going to be performing with Yuck Yucks out there in Halifax. I got a meeting coming up with the booker there, and he's going to get me some weekends. And I'm actually going to be, along with Nick, we're going to be the ones. Have you heard of Don't Tell Comedy?
No, I haven't.
It's a company. I don't know if they're based out of LA or New York, but it's this American company that's now in Canada where they just put on secret shows in a bunch of different cities.
Okay.
They're all over, and they're like big shows. And me and Nick are going to be the producers for them in Halifax. So
okay, so whenever there's a Halifax show coming up,
when there's a Don't Tell show in Halifax, that's basically me and Nick putting it on. So yeah,
see, man,
yeah,
so
I got a lot on the horizon.
Yeah,
Kind of itching to go. I'm working it out with the moving company and all that stuff to see when I can get my shit over there. But in like a week or so. Basically, I think it's actually the day my show is happening in Toronto, February 9th at the Rec Room. Lovers and Laughs, to.eventbrite.ca for tickets. The day that's happening, I think, is when I'm going to be moving to Halifax.
Oh, see? So you'll be there in spirit, but...
Yeah. Well, I'll be there, like, on my phone, like, oh my God, what's happening?
What's going on? Who are you?
Live feed of the show, yeah.
Well, in that case, I guess we're going to see you then, essentially. You have the Lovers and Laughs happening on February 9th, and on top of that, you have Works happening in Halifax, and we just want to see more of that. And I'm pretty sure in the future, sometime in the summer when you return, we'll have an actual live conversation with each other.
Hell yeah. I would say for anyone listening, if you're thinking of starting, really this goes for any art at all, or a business, but in my example, comedy, if you want to be doing comedy, start your own show, start your own open mic, start your own road shows, and whatever kind of art you want to start, like start doing it. It doesn't matter if it's good, bad, horrible, amazing. Just actually start doing it. I think a lot of people overthink it too much.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, I want to do comedy. Oh, I'm working on my material. I'm almost done the perfect 5 minutes, and it's going to be... No, fuck that. Just get up, do it, bomb, do it again. I think same with music. I think anything, but
I feel the same way with that a lot.
Be your own boss from the beginning. Like, run your own shit from the beginning. Not just for the money, too, but for the networking and the sort of sense of self. You build your own audience, you know? And you get shit out there. And it's not about how good it is. It's about how consistent you are. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
Podcast, too. Like, you're doing this podcast.
Yeah,
if people start listening, when does it come out? What days?
Well, this one usually
in general,
on Tuesdays, Mondays or Tuesdays.
Mondays and Tuesdays?
Yeah, Mondays or Tuesdays.
Yeah, see, you got to pick one.
Okay.
And once you start getting an audience, and every Tuesday they start listening, and I listen to like 7 podcasts, and it's almost like my schedule is around it. It's like, okay, Mondays I'm gonna wake up or whatever, do my shit, smoke a cigarette, watch Theo Vaughn, fucking whatever. So, like, whatever day it is that you pick, you have to pick one. Once they start listening to that every week, if you miss one, you're dead. They might not ever come back.
Yeah.
Like, you have to consistently put it out week after week at that same predictable rhythm. You know what I mean? That's really important.
And that comes with, having people like you that want to actually come onto the show, too. So I appreciated that he came on, and I appreciate you actually spoke with us. And once again, that's what I want to happen. I want to be able to just have every single person I can speak to that has a good, that's just been to Toronto, has a good story, because that's how they relate. to the whole podcast in general.
Yeah, man. Cool. Well, thank you.
Yeah, man, absolutely. In
Thanks
that
for
case,
having me on.
Vandad, I guess
Yo.
we'll see you in the future, brother.
All
Yeah,
right.
man.
Peace out, homie.
Clack, clack, clack. And I will stop the recording for sure.